Good day, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today we get to talk about The Expanse, Babylon's Ashes, book number 6 in the Expanse series. So if you want to know what I think about Babylon's Ashes, stay tuned. That is coming up on another book review from Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, so before we get into Babylon's Ashes, Book 6 of The Expanse, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notification so you know when I post my next video on The Expanse book series. And as always, you can join me down on the Discord. I'll have that link below. You can also join me over on my Bookstagram. So let's get into this, Book 6 of The Expanse. So before we get into this probably will contain some spoilers for previous books in the series. This is the 6th book in the series. Kind of hard to talk about a book 6 without spoiling something from the previous books. So let's talk about Babylon's Ashes. So of course this book picks up after the events of the last book being Nemesis Game. So as we know, Marco Aneros has hurled these massive asteroids at Earth, and he's created devastation across the system with his free navy, and he is determined to destroy the Inners and to make the solar system all about the Belters. He's basically got this terrorist organization he's calling the Free Navy, or at least he is siding, or rather, that is the positioning of the story, that he is a terrorist organization. Now, I'm not saying he's not. Before someone says I think he's the good guy, I don't think he's the good guy in this book, but that is definitely how the storyline is presenting his side as the terrorist organization. And this book picks up immediately after that. Now, this book definitely has a slower burn to it compared to the other books, so it kind of seems to be the aftermath where everything's resetting and our characters are kind of resetting and getting repositioned for the next stage in the game, with Babylon's Ashes being the great reset, I guess is the best way to look at that. And as we hurl up to the final conclusion of this particular story arc within this book series, The Expanse. So it is slower in that we got a lot of players being positioned and pieces being moved around, but not an excessive amount of action. But that's not necessarily a drawback. In every book series we have, often there is a book that kind of has that slower pace and kind of a reset, which I found with this. Is actually why I rated 3 stars, not because I didn't like it. I absolutely liked it. This is becoming one of my favorite science fiction series of all time. So it's definitely not that I didn't like the book. I absolutely do like this book, and I enjoyed it very, very much. But just keep in mind, it does have a bit of a slower pace compared to the other ones. At least that's how I felt about it. What's really interesting is what we see happening here is we have, of course, Captain Holden and the Rocinante and all them going on about what their position is, what they need to do, and how they need to go about getting things done as they look for a way to defeat the Free Navy. So this book, the whole tides of the war start to turn in favor of Earth and Mars and the Belter sympathizers that are against Marco Aneros. As things start to shift, Marco is not getting all the wins that he wishes to have. We see some characters slowly kind of changing sides, so to speak, and having their perspectives shift. So one thing that we do see is James Holden, as he starts to have some more empathy and sympathy for the situation the Belters find themselves in. Not for Marco specifically, but starting to understand what led to this whole situation to begin with, and why the Belters feel the way that they do, and how that has affected them, and why they feel their life, their civilization essentially is threatened by the opening up of the Ring Gate and the new worlds which are now available to them. Whereas before, the Belters had a secure place in society, albeit one that they felt was under the oppression of the Inners. And now with the exploration of the new worlds, their entire existence is threatened. And we start to see how Captain Holden kind of starts to empathize with them as he shifts his perspective and shifts his dynamic over to understanding that. While at the same time, we also have some change of heart with those that previously aligned with Marco Aneros. And I won't say who exactly, because I don't want to give too much spoilers about what happens there, but we start to see a shift in support for Marco and his activities as this whole battle comes to a head until the final resolution towards the end of the book. Now, I did find that the resolution did seem to come pretty quickly at the end, but at this point I'm not sure if it was a matter of plot convenience on how it was resolved, or if there's a greater story at play here coming out in further books. Because one thing that was kind of hinted at from earlier books is disappearing ships. Nobody really understood what was happening or why. It was thought that Marco was stealing them and taking them into his fleet, but it turns out that's not what's happening. That earlier foreshadowing from earlier books certainly plays a role in this book, leading up to the resolution of this conflict or this particular story arc. But I still kind of wonder if it was more for plot convenience. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how this progresses, and that may yet play a bigger role in the future books, which we will just have to wait and see, I guess. Of course, I am going to be continuing this series, which overall I'm absolutely enjoying. I love the series. I think it's a great read overall, and it's just been a really fun and entertaining read. And I'm really enjoying this, and I highly recommend that you check it out if you like that science fiction, what I would term realistic science fiction. It just has a real vibe of what the future may be like, what the technology of the future may be like as well. And overall, I'm absolutely enjoying this series, and I think that you would too, especially if you're a science fiction fan. So I don't have a whole lot to say on this book. Those are my thoughts, particularly on Babylon's Ashes. It's a good read, slower burn, still enjoyable, and definitely feels like it's wrapping up one storyline, setting up the next as we move into the rest of the Expanse universe for the next few books in the series. So this will be interesting to see where it goes from here now that this plot line has been wrapped up, or at least I'm pretty sure it has. Who knows, maybe they'll throw me for a surprise and it's not as wrapped up as I maybe thought it was, which would be a cool thing too. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Babylon's Ashes by James S.A. Corey. Great series overall, still a good read, still enjoyed it, and I look forward to getting on to the next book in the series. And if you want to see my review on the next book of the series, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when I upload that. And as always, join me over on the Discord, that'll be linked below. Join me on my Bookstagram, that'll be linked below as well. And as always, until next time, keep on reading. Bye!